Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. I know this is supposed to be another update on the air pump build, but I think I'm going to postpone that to next Friday because I want to get this project further along. And there's still a number of decisions I need to make and options I haven't tried out yet. And I would really like your opinion on it, so I'm going to go through some of that in this video, and hopefully we can get closer to having this project all done. So one of the things I did in the initial clip you saw there is I trimmed the length of the return fitting that's going to go back into the Paludarium. It's the one that's going to be at the top, and I wanted it to be shorter so the water comes out closer to the back wall. The reason being is I want to create a nice rain effect, not so much anymore having pools with overflowing waterfalls into other pools and that sort of stuff, but I want to create a back wall which is going to have across its entire length water dripping down over it. And that's going to keep, first off, everything nice and wet and allow the moss to grow and things along those lines. But also it's going to have, hopefully, a nice sort of rainforest look to it. And to that end, I am going to create a trough at the top. It's going to go from one end to the other, and it is going to collect the water first off, and then it's going to allow through those holes to have it rain down over however or whatever I decide to attach to the back wall. And also the other thing I've done here differently is I've gotten rid of the duct tape and the plywood, and I have cut and put the braces on the two sides. Now they're not attached to anything, they're just resting on the edge of the tank, and you can see in the back there in the corner on both sides I have duct tape there just to keep them in place and also keep the back wall nice and straight. So I have also attached, as you can see, the water pump because I wanted to get the water to flow out here, and even though I've pretty much made a spray bar for this, I want it to be tested out before I glue it in place. Again, I want to be able to take this and try something out, pull it apart if I need to, hence the tape, and be able to, like I said, try stuff out, and if I don't like it, try something else. So it runs nicely. And what I'm going to do now is you're going to see a lot of my arm here, but I'm going to try holding the two pieces of the trough. I've added the ends on them, as you can see here. I'm going to hold it up to the wall and try and get a feel for how well the water spreads out. You'll notice right by my forefinger there, and I actually can't really see it anymore. We'll see it again in a second. Because I'm nesting them inside each other, the one on the right, you'll see right underneath my hand, there's a bunch of water escaping. It's not right up against the acrylic, but this still does give me a reasonably good idea of how well it's going to look once it's actually, glued in place. I did try doing this where I'm abutting them, but it's just no way of holding that with one hand. And even though the walls that I've set up here give me a really good idea of the confines of this and where I can put stuff and where I can't and all that, unfortunately it doesn't allow for easy manipulation against the back wall here. That's okay. It's just I just need to get a rough idea, because this is actually still fairly easy to even after I attach it to the wall, to adjust. I can put bits of moss in the trough, I can put sand, gravel, whatever, plug up holes. I can really regulate how that goes. I've done that quite a few times with other things I've built, and I know this system works really well. I was thinking about putting some other holes in it, but I don't think it's going to be really necessary. So what I'm going to do here is try it out one more time, make sure I have it the way I want it to, and then I'm going to take the duct tape off, pull the panels off, unplug the pump, remove the fitting from it, and then take the back wall off. Even though that does sound like a little cumbersome, it is actually better than like if I had to pull those three pieces together, and of course if it had the top on it as well. So here you go, it's glued in place now, easy to do. I did it off camera because there's no point in showing it to you. And then I'm going to plug the pump in, and don't worry about that big black wire there. It is actually I'm going to drill a hole pretty much right underneath the fitting you see on the bottom and have that feed out there, and it'll go up the back. That's another thing I should mention. I am going to color the back of this. Normally what I would do is just coat it in either black acrylic or something along those lines. If you guys have a preference in color, just let me know. This is the rain effect. Now obviously at this point it is fairly heavy because there's absolutely nothing there. There's nothing to deflect its path whatsoever. It just goes straight down into the tank, which is perfectly fine. It's actually kind of a nice, neat sort of look, and it actually has a cool sound to it. But it is a bit too much for what I want to do here. So I am going to, once it starts stripping down those objects that's going to be on here, it's going to be to a much greater or much lesser effect, I should say. But I do like the look of this, and again, of course, let me know what you think of that as well. Now, I am not going to use the terracotta, as I said. As you can tell, there's none on the spray bar here, which is probably the first place I would have put it. And I'm actually not going to do any of that for the back wall either. I still really like the wood and using the acrylic to have it tied in place, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to keep with that. But just for initial look, I've decided to put in some stuff I had laying around in the shop. These are some nice pieces of slate and driftwood that I had, and as you can see, it's very easy to add things into this to make it look a little bit better. Now, if you can imagine having various plants tied to this as well, and of course plants hanging out of the trough at the top, it can very easily start looking like a grotto in a rainforest, which is the kind of look I want to go for here. Now, the pipe and everything will be obviously invisible once the backing is painted or covered in acrylic or whatever it turns out to be. And I really, like I said, I still want to add the driftwood because, the branches, because I think that's going to add an interesting effect. Like right now it looks like water dripping down, but I want to have a bit of like trees, obviously not large ones because they are fairly small branches. And once they're wired into place, it also gives me much greater area to add plants. And right now, even though this looks fine, I like the look of this, but it's way too sparse. There needs to be more here. And I do want to add in some pothos, obviously Java fern, and some other mosses like Java moss and probably some land mosses and a bunch of other stuff in here. So all that stuff needs a place to go and a place that I can attach it to. So that is going to happen. Now, one of the things I want you to answer for me is, do you like the look of this wood in preference to, like, this is cured driftwood obviously, to the branches, like the actual wood that's going to be attached to this? Now, I think they both look kind of cool, and I'm going to, in a few seconds here, I'm going to stick one in and try it out. It obviously needs to be cut down a bit more now because as far as this goes, the top is going to be right at the bottom of where the trough that's there. And I like the look of this wood. It is, it's aged. It's like, this is standing deadwood is what I call it when I used to do a lot of camping. I used to use this stuff to make fires because it, even though it has moss and stuff on it, it hasn't been laying down on the ground, so it's not really that rotten. And someone was a little concerned that it may add stuff into the aquarium. Actually, that's not really a problem at all because being standing deadwood means it has never really come in contact with a lot of water, and there aren't any really chances for there to be pathogens on this. And as far as lichens and moss go, that's not a big deal at all. And as always, if I end up with issues with it, I can just run a UV sterilizer on the tank and take out whatever happens to crop up, but I don't think this will be a possibility at all. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put it back in, cut it down. It's a little difficult to get it where I want it. I'm just going to lean it in here, and imagine, if you will, all the other ones in here as well, and of course the rocks working around it. I'm just propping this one up here. It doesn't exactly go where I want it to because I want it to go all the way to the top, but once there's like Java fern on this and moss and other stuff, I think it's going to have a really cool look, and I do like the way the water splashes around and everything. So let me know what you think, and as always, if you like this style of video, please like and or subscribe, and I will always answer your questions, and hopefully you get some interesting ideas out of you, because that always seems to be the case. I mean, as long as I've been doing this, I still learn lots of stuff, and you guys supply me with lots of ideas. So thank you very much for all that. And like I said, thank you very much for watching. I mean, taking the time to watch my videos, still amazes me that people do that. And again, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.